And good morning. Happy Saturday, August 28th, 2021. That's funny. I had to look at that. 8 a.m. I know that because my watch never lets me be late for 8 o'clock. Good morning to everyone out there. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let the YouTube algorithm know that you are interested in the content. 12 of you, there should be 12 thumbs ups. Come on, make sure you're hitting that button. All right, let's go over to the comments real quick. Oh, hold on. Just had a signal message come through. Oh, boy. My wife had to run somewhere this morning, and at 8 o'clock, there is already a line. I don't know if that's good or bad. Over to the comments. Good morning, Jim Jones, Ryan Sharp, Jacob Johnson, Sean Gibby, Tom, Manuel. Good morning, everyone. 15 of you. Zach, Brian. None of my mods are in here yet. Moderators. Morning, Brian. Morning, TN Bighorn. I'm here. There's Bob Carpenter. Justin Ware. Morning from Texas. Yes, good morning. So, YouTube has made some very interesting changes. And I noticed the first one last week, and who knows, it's probably been rolled out to bigger creators for a long time. But I can actually turn on subscribers only mode. And what that means is that I can say you've had to have been a subscriber of the channel for X amount of time before you can comment. So that takes a little bit of the load off my friend Bob from the frozen land of Canada. All right. 21 of you in. Good morning. 11 thumbs up. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. I know it sounds like I'm begging, but every time you hit that thumbs up button, it lets the YouTube algorithm know that you like the content. Morning, James from Alabama. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? First of all, any IT, networking, security questions that you've got? Good morning. Emma Piano, South Africa in the house. That's quite a few hours ahead of us. I got a little bit of, hey, there's Tony with Quick Tech. That's right, Sean, feed the AI gods. So we're going to talk about that AI that we talked about last week with Blue Iris and the Deep Stack. And we are learning a little bit about the nature versus nurture of AI. We'll talk about that. Good morning, JH. Tony's in the house. Bob's in the house. Haven't seen Unky Joe yet. Might be a little early for Unky Joe. Good morning, Randy. I'm glad everybody is here. Okay. So let's address that right away. Hey, Anders is in the house. So what we did with the AI testing is we've been running it for a little over a week now. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that it works with all of the cameras where it may eventually end up. And so, Tom, Grand Stream training, I have to do that video this week because I am doing it a week in October. I've got to get now. Okay. So don't turn this into a political whatever. I'm actually doing 2 trainings a week in October. We were going to go out of town. We're no longer going out of town, but I'm still going to take the time off for my day job, and I'm going to do trainings. So I'm going to do. I have a client who takes care of some pretty big name clients out in Martha's Vineyard, and they want a Unifi crash course, like a 1-day like brain dump. And so we're going to do that. Now you don't get the Ubiquity certifications, but you get a brain dump of, the last 10 years of working with their equipment. And so I'm working on coming up with a syllabus for that. But then there are going to be 2 days of Grand Stream training that week. So yes, specifically look for that very soon. Jacob Johnson, any fun plans for the weekend? I'm going to mow the grass. Maybe drink some bourbon. More than likely drink some bourbon. So, all right, let's see. All right, so the AI, right? So we've actually started testing it with different cameras. So the first camera we tested the AI with was an Axis camera. And the Axis morning TV, Jay, the Axis camera if you've ever used Axis cameras, you know that the images are beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful. So with the blue stack or with the deep stack AI on Blue Iris with an Axis camera, we only ever had the two false positives, and that was a weird lighting condition and a fire hydrant. But it picked up everything else. So then what we did was we switched to a Dawa camera, and the Dawa cameras are they're good cameras. They're obviously not Axis cameras, but they're a cut above Ubiquity cameras. So I'm going like best camera to like worst camera, like dumpster fire camera, right? So, hold on just a second. Um, and so, um, Axis definitely number one with and you got to remember the Blue Iris system itself is doing the AI, right? So it never missed anything. And in fact, we had scenarios where there were multiple cars, multiple people, and it tagged everything, and only two false positives out of like 1,500 alerts. Then we move to the Dawa, and the Dawa did a decent job. Might have had one false positive on the fence about that, but I wasn't a fan of the image. You know, it was a little weird. So then what we had to do is we had to switch over to the Ubiquity camera, and this is a G3, and it is missing events. The view is not good, and this is a G3 camera that I mean, these things we're babying the test cameras. Like they are tucked away. There's no weather directly on them. Um, there is it can see the rain, you know, but we know for a fact that it is missing events. It's missing cars. It's missing people, and the image is not good. So the Ubiquity camera, I firsthand witnessed yesterday it missing two cars very clearly, right? So very clearly, we understand that you have to have better cameras to get better results out of the AI. So that is lessons learned right away. 3060, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. All right, back over to the comments real quick. So yeah, Jacob, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mow grass. And I'm going to try to relocate a pumpkin vine that has two pumpkins on it without disturbing them because we're having our garage door replaced. Which, by the way, usually that's like a 6 to 8 week process, and it is a 10 to 12 week process with the company that we went through because they can't get the stuff. So we're gonna try to do that. We'll see what happens. Jim Jones says, "Hey y'all, just got a UC 3200 with 12 SSDs. Performance is less than stellar. Synology is stumped. Anyone else experience?" So we've never had poor performance with the UC 3200s, but we have seen some other weird things. I should do a video about that because we've seen some weird things with iSCSI. Make sure you're on the latest update. It could also be networking. So JH is doing hurricane prep. Yes, heard that there is some hurricanes coming. It's supposed to be hot here again today, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Gibby says, "Don't you just love ISPs? I love it when they replace their router and don't ask important questions like, do you already have access points?" So Comcast doesn't care whether you have access points or not. They've got that little service that they turn on all of their Cisco. And I mean, anybody who has Comcast, unless you have to have static IPs, I always recommend that you have your own cable modem. And if you do have static IPs, put that baby in bridge mode, get rid of that wireless, do your own thing. Yeah. So back to talking about the cameras, and Brian Murray brings us up that he has seen their most expensive cameras in action there, and saying, yeah. So if you go out to YouTube, you can look at some Axis cameras that the federal government of the United States of America has deployed, and they're up on mountains, and they can see into cities miles away at night. It's good stuff. One of the hospitals in Peoria has a high-end Axis camera. So Axis and Canon have a very close relationship. But one of the hospitals, I don't know if it's on the top of the hospital or top of a parking deck, has an access camera with Canon glass on it, and you can see all the way into downtown Peoria. It's pretty amazing. We ordered, or we're working on ordering, an actual thermal vision camera and an Access LPR camera. The Access LPR camera, so license plate recognition camera, is on back order. We don't have an ETA, but we're having issues getting all kinds of stuff. Good morning, Alonzo Smith. Morning, Sat Vision. Blaine asks, can I use a Unifi AP standalone? Yes, you can do that. You can use the app on your phone to um, configure a Unifi access point in a one-off mode. Red DZ says, I have a question. Go ahead and ask your question. Gibby says, look at Uniview NVR and cameras. Their PTZ have awesome AI. They have a person. Yeah, so there's a lot of Dawa, Hike Vision, Axis cameras, Geo Vision that have that the follow, built into it. And there's some NVRs that can use any PTZs and do that same thing. Yes, people are answering you, Blaine, in the comments. That is beautiful. I love that. Yeah, JH also says check your SSDs. Yeah, Jim, they pushed us out to 10 to 12 weeks, and we had to sign a piece of paper. We had to sign a piece of paper that said that our sales lady explained to us that it was going to be 10 to 12 weeks. I had no problem signing it. She was an awesome salesperson and got us a pretty good deal. Ryan Sharp says, how long are you going to grow out the beard? So I'm going to keep, it's going to be about this length. I haven't showered yet this morning. And so it's a little wild. It's a little out there, but this is about as long as it's going to get for now. Let's see. Yeah, I cut it on, so it was like, and this is all white down here when it grows out. So yeah, I trimmed it up. I think it looks nice. I got some beard envy though. Met with a guy from the city of Peoria IT department yesterday, and his wife made him grow his beard out, and it's like down to here, and it's a beautiful mess. All right, let's see. TN Bighorn says the sad part about Comcast now is that they require you to log into your Comcast. What? Oh boy. Morning, Dave Robertson. Good morning from Northern Ireland in the house. JH has rumors that Juniper Mist is adding in QFX and MX routers so you can deploy in data centers. That's awesome. The Mist AI, I think, is ahead of any other competitor that Juniper has in that market. Yeah, and the thing is, like, if you move to routers like an OpenSense, a PFSense, move to Palo Alto, which I've got some firewall envy going on right now. I'm going to start my Palo Alto videos at some point. I have so many videos that I have to get done that it's unreal. I'm so far behind, and I have to start getting those back out now that I'm feeling better. But Palo Alto, but my point is if you're using a modern firewall, that where that can do fully qualified domain names for firewall rules, you don't need static IPs anymore. So Jacob says, picked up a Dell OEM 620 that was sold as an untangled box with a 2-port pass-through network card. So when it fails, oh, that's sweet. So it fails open. That's actually pretty cool. So there used to be some appliances. There's a company called X Roads Networks, and it was one of the first. I used them before we used PepLink, right? So you could have multiple WANs, and they were a WAN aggregator. It was fancy failover, right? And they would fail open. It was the first appliance that I ever had that if the appliance has failed, that the network connections, the pass through would fail open. It was absolutely amazing at the time. Jim says SSDs are on their HCL network is pushing full 10 gig. Are you using jumbo frames? In this case, I will tell you, we talk a lot about jumbo frames and about how misconfigurations can cause problems, but make sure you got jumbo frames on all over the place, Jim. Holy cow! TVJ says my parents have waited almost 4 weeks for a new motherboard for their AC mini splits. That's crazy. Let's see. Oh, Unky Joe is in the house. Good morning, Unky Joe. We are just missing Joe from Cajoling Tech, and everybody would be here. So I will tell you that the problem that I have with Comcast is when they go into underserved areas, is they, at least in Peoria, they are not upgrading the infrastructure. Like it's just, it is what it is, and it's not good in some neighborhoods. Jacob, is that a 1U unit? I like, are you offering me the unit or the card? Yeah, and the thing is, and JH is right. So Palo Alto is expensive, but there's a reason that it's expensive. I mean, they are the number one firewall brand, and started kind of getting into this a little bit on a Facebook post. Somebody showed a 911 center that they were cabling and setting up, and I saw another guy that I know that's like big into Ubiquity. So I commented like, "Hey man, just want to let you know there's likely little to no Ubiquity in that 911 center." And so it started this conversation. Unfortunately, they're putting Fortinets. They're saying that Fortinet is a better bang for your buck, but this is one of those um, areas where we're just going to have to agree to disagree. All right, Dexter. Good morning, Dexter. Everything is well. I hope you're good too. Dennis Pillow, the the Indiana Wild Man, is in the house. Everybody say hi to Dennis. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Yeah, so you can open a ticket. Jim is absolutely correct. You can have Comcast turn that Wi-Fi off. It's easier to just go in and click the bridge mode enable button and just turn all their stuff off. Patrick says, just installed my UAP AC Pro as a wireless mesh setup. Works fantastic if the range is not so far away. So there's no such thing really as mesh with AC. Well, there is. So, we're mixing terms, right? So on AC Pros, it's not really mesh as wireless uplink. And Ubiquity has always cautioned you when using wireless uplink to only use it as a temporary solution. Now, mesh is different where you have a dedicated radio, but on an AC Pro, you don't have a dedicated radio that does that. Now, you have to remember that wireless in this segment is half duplex. Every time you do a wireless uplink, you're cutting your bandwidth in half. There's all kinds of things. All right. Let's see. JH says Fortinet has taken a lot of the market share on price and how they do SD-WAN. I think that the rule set for their firewalls are a hot mess and overly complicated, likely purposefully. Yeah, Jacob, you could hang on to that card, and at some point, I would take you up on it, but don't make a special trip just for me. You don't have to call Comcast to turn off the radio. You can do it yourself if you put it in bridge mode. It warns you, you know. Uh, let's see. All right, Radio says we don't use VLAN 1 and no 192.1c. We have VLAN 131 for server, 132 for clients, 777. Want to configure Unifi Cloud Key and USW48, how to do this. So you can't change the management VLAN on a Unifi Cloud Key. So you're going to have to fire it up first on the default VLAN, or you're going to have a switch that has the PVID set as one of those other VLANs. So, yeah. In any particular reason you're using like VLAN 131, 132, 777, maybe you're using all the other VLANs. I'm always just curious how people pick their VLAN numbers because when I have my choice and I do my own setup, I have a methodology for that. Unky Joe says, just put my brisket in the oven. See you in about 8 hours. That sounds good. All right, Tom says PepLink SDX are awesome for SD-WAN. So there's a couple companies, and he is absolutely correct that PepLink is one of them. And they actually have a service. And this is the thing that people don't understand is that like an edge router can't do real aggregation. Most routers cannot aggregate bandwidth from different providers. You need a special service to do that. And PepLink and Mushroom Networks can both do that. But then when people see the price tag, they're like, whoa. Well, it's a special service, right? And it uses AWS and it creates a VPN. This is my understanding, my rudimentary understanding of this. It creates a VPN out to AWS, and it does aggregate the bandwidth using this VPN thing. And it's yeah, AWS servers are freaking expensive, so yeah, we're gonna charge you for it. Uh, Brian Murray is exactly correct, and I've mentioned that in several videos. I try to match my VLAN ID with my third octet when I can. Absolutely, when it's possible. That is my base setup. So, and here's the thing, right? So you see a lot of people argue against using VLAN 1, but if you change the PVID on a port, the machine plugged into that port doesn't recognize the VLAN unless you're in a trunk situation, right? So tell me how that's more secure than not using VLAN 1. Nobody can answer it when I ask the question that way. Yeah, the Airfiber 60 LRs are really cool, Dexter. So we got a project where we're going to be using the new point-to-point stuff that I can't really talk about, the 60 gigahertz stuff. So, all right, what else? We talked about the AI, the Blue Iris AI. And make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Thumbs up button. Let's YouTube AI know what the deal is. Someone threw out a 2U UPS yesterday and it works perfectly. That's probably um, uh, access ports can. So on certain switches, you can have an access port and specify a voice VLAN. So it's not really technically a trunk, and it will pass the voice VLAN tag. But trunks can have a PVID or an access VLAN on them. But what I said was that people argue against using VLAN 1, but then they set a PVID on a port. What is the difference? Because the machine at the access, if it's an access port, the machine doesn't know that there's tagging going on. It just gets its IP address. So it doesn't, it's circular. JH says it's not a security thing. It's mostly for 802.1x. I've had weird errors when using Mac Move and VLAN being on the client network. Gotcha. Yeah. So if you're using something like Packet Fence, and you're doing 802.1x and based on Mac or based on authentication, you're switching the VLAN on the port, I can maybe see that. Andrew, thanks for all you do. Hey, man, thank you. Without all of you being here and hitting the thumbs up button and reaching out and engaging with me, this doesn't exist. So because you all engage with me, this exists and we perpetuate it. VTP is different. Gibby, that's a little bit different. Let's see. David Anderson says, "Morning, Will, in Peoria today with the folks. Are you going to Irish Fest by chance, David Anderson? Is that why you're in Peoria? Irish Fest going on tonight in the riverfront. If you're Irish, go have a pint responsibly." So, hey, Ryan, there's 46 likes is what I see, but I appreciate you like shaming people. All right, so if you're in the United States and you run a business or you have huge amounts of income or don't forget September 15th is coming up, my obligatory quarterly statement about quarterly taxes. Don't forget to get those in there. September 15th is the due date for that. So don't forget your quarterly taxes. All right. So Synology has put out a warning for some problems with OpenSSL software. And they say a patch is coming between 30 and 90 days or something like that. There's some, in my opinion, it's too long because OpenSSL itself has been patched And now we just wait. So if your Open VPN server out there and Synology is out there, if your Synology is facing the public internet, now you are at risk from an Open SSL vulnerability. In my opinion, this should have been patched already. Just my opinion. Not sure what's happening, but it's a more serious bug on DSM-7. So should have been patched. Should have been patched. JH network monitoring, it depends on the manufacturer. Doug, morning, Doug. Doug is reporting in from Salt Lake today. I thought you were in Wisconsin. Let's see. Jim says, I think Synology is swamped with dams. I think you meant DSM, but it works in this case. 7 support issues. Probably there is. I've had 3 customers now who just went ahead and full sent an upgrade without letting me know, and now we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So there's that. TP Link has sent me some more gear. So they sent me one of the routers they already sent me instead of the other router because they are also having issues getting their own equipment. And I've got this great big huge access point, this great big huge Wi-Fi 6 access point. It does have a 2.5 gig PoE plus port. So you're going to see this. This is some of the videos I've got to get done. I want to thank TP Link. They didn't send me any cool socks or shirts like they do the people in Canada, but that's okay. That's okay. We're in it for the long haul with TP Link. They did, however, send me the Omada OC300 controller, and you can do 500 access points, switches, and routers with this. It's got a USB 3.0 port. They have to point out that it's USB 3.0 for auto backup. So I have not opened this. I just took it out of the box. You know how it is when you're down, when you're sick, and then you like start getting back into things. Holy cow! Like, yeah, my schedule is a mess. Holy cow! This thing is a monster compared to that first controller they sent me, which was what, the 100 or the 200. Look at this thing. Holy cow. And on the back, you got a nice grounding lug, which 95% of all people ignore, which you shouldn't, especially with phone systems. It's funny, we'll get tickets from people saying, "Hey, I got these POTS lines and I got hum on the line, and they didn't they didn't ground the system." And then usually, you can ask James, usually the problem goes away. Gibby says, any news on VPN on the GWN 7000? So I've been told that there's a huge update coming for the GWN 7000, and I'm hoping they will fix that. So, Sean, are you talking about 6.2.4 on Synology? I got a couple videos that I'm going to get them cranked out this weekend. Whether I got to stay up until midnight, I got to get them cranked out this weekend. But one of them is going to be talking about Ubiquity and about how there are persistent bugs. 1 year later, they're known. People are reaching out to me. I'm helping them fix their problems. And so one of them is going to talk about a problem that should not exist, and they can refute it. But I've got a 6.2.26 customer who this just happened to. So don't tell me the problem's fixed when it's not. Oh, let's talk about fraud. IT security. We had this conversation yesterday. Fraud is huge. First of all, I wanted to show this off again. I bought this a couple of years ago. It's called a Hunter Cat. And some of you may have seen this. This comes out of Mexico, and I hope this guy makes a bazillion dollars. But what this device does is you put a little battery in it, and it looks at the magnetic how many magnetic frequencies or magnetic whatever's the technical term is eluding me at the moment. But you can see that this looks like a credit debit card, right? And this looks like a EMV slot here. And what this does is it has a little series of LEDs on it, and it will tell you. Yeah, the LEDs are right here. I need to do a full out video on this, but this will tell you if there's a credit card skimmer on a credit card machine that you are getting ready to stick your card with your hard-earned money on in. And so I get looks when I use this at a gas pump. Um, so I figured, I started pulling on stuff, but the couple of years back there was a video. It literally takes a team of two people to distract a gas station clerk like 30 seconds to install the skimmer, right? And this can detect it. This thing, like I said, I hope this guy makes enough money to retire off this and then keeps coming up with awesome ideas. It's the Hunter Cat. Salvador Mendoza. Electronic Cats is the name of the company. Salvador Mendoza. Look him up. Go buy one of these. I don't make any money off of it, but this is an awesome, awesome tool. And I have personally not found any scammers, Ryan, in Peoria, but I've heard skimmers, but I've heard other people finding skimmers in Peoria. In fact, I believe SEFQ, the credit union, had an article in the newspaper where they found skimmers on their ATMs in Washington, Illinois. So, um, but so back to it, right? So, some of the newer, and they're not really new, they're just using old ways of scamming people. Morning, Cody. That if you go out to Google right now, so everybody, if you're able to open a second Google tab, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button, then open a second Google tab. Now, in the second, go to Google and search for 12-foot tall skeleton or 12 space FT skeleton. There's two sites that are going to come up at the beginning. There's one that's going to be a misspelling of squashmallows, which if you have kids or maybe you even like squashmallows, I'm doing this now myself. So you're going to see under the ads, the shopping ads, 12-foot tall giant skeleton, $95.99. Squishmallows. That is not the real Squishmallows website. That is a Chinese site that scraped the Squishmallows site, obviously figured out how to look at Google data, get the top searches, and is now scamming people. They've got a Cloudflare cert. They're hosted on the Alibaba cloud. The domain was created like 15 days ago, 16 days ago. There's a whole lot of stuff wrong with this. And those giant skeletons are $299.99 at Home Depot. And that's kind of where they got their start. So then there's xbooner.com that's got it for $99.99. That site is also a scam. Looks like another one has popped up. US Goods Sale has now popped up. So let's see. Are the top 3 sites? Yeah, this site, I wouldn't buy anything from this site either. usgoodsale.com. Not a shot. In fact, let's look up the domain usgoodsale.com. So as much as I don't like GoDaddy, their Who Is server, which is just who.godaddy.com, is literally the easiest one to use. You just go there, copy, paste, and I can remember who.godaddy.com. So I'm looking up usgoodsale.com. It's going to load the information. And yep, it is registered. It was registered on July 31st, 2021. And they're using the some of the hidden or free tools where you don't have to basically tell people who you are. And it was registered out of China. So when I tell you that things are too good to be true, they are too good to be true. do not, and always check it out. So my wife loves to buy t-shirts, and I love that my wife will send me she will literally send me a screenshot and go, "Hey, is this legit?" And then I can vet it for her, right? She sent me a site last night, and they were using all kinds of Disney intellectual property. Right there, that's a red flag, because Disney is known the world round for being aggressive in protecting their IP. So that's flag number 1. Once again, domain was literally registered less than a month ago. So the scammers are getting really good at understanding what people are searching for, and they are taking advantage of it. So you have to be cautious. So one of my videos this week is going to talk specifically about this. I'm actually going to take one section out of the training and now put this Halloween training stuff in there. So I saw a comment. Jim Jones says DNS filter is blocking all those sites for me. So that is how we came across it. Somebody sent it over and said, "Hey, can you unblock this site? I want to buy one of these." And even if you go in, Jim, you're going to find, even if you go in and you whitelist that Squashmallow site, DNS filter still will not let you get to it. That's how messed up they know it is even if you whitelist it, you can't get to it. So, hey, Reginald. TSSC says, why not share your screen when talking about a site? So I am live streaming directly from the YouTube studio platform. And the last time I need to get back in and fix I have a problem with my OBS studio, and I literally have not taken the time to fix it. So once I do that, you'll be able to see my screen again. But how much did I pay for the Hunter Cat? I can't remember. I think I paid I Ryan, it was super inexpensive. It was less than when I bought it, it was less than $40. And if you've ever been, scammed at that level, that's worth it. Cobus says, setting up my first TrueNAS. All right. Good job. And you are definitely welcome for the training. I need to reset the timer, because I might be starting to get comments from people who haven't been members for around that 30 minute mark. Tom asks, DNS filter versus pfSense, OpenSense, etc. DNS filter for the win every time. Yes, you pay for the service. However, it is worth every penny, in my opinion, and I make no money off of them. They did send me a nice T-shirt, and they sent me a mug and stuff like that, but I make no money off them. But I live and use their service every day. Good morning, Jeremy. Yes, Jim says DNS filter is another layer, so do both. Absolutely. Layered security, as I call it, the security jawbreaker. Go out. I've got a video if you check that out. Pi-hole's okay, but I wouldn't use it I wouldn't use Pi-hole in like a big business. I just wouldn't do it. I don't even do their T's and C's allow you to do that? So, we'll have to see what the deal is with that. Okay. Man, lots of emails here this morning. Yeah, bye Untangle. That's funny. Reginald says, get on an issue with a U6 Lite with a Raspberry Pi Zero. It keeps knocking off my Pi Zero. Who knows? Probably a weird firmware problem with Ubiquity. Appreciate the shout out about the beard, Dean. Yeah. All right. So I have, like every Saturday morning, got to get going. I didn't get to talk about everything, but remember. Dennis says, hello, Willie. Say hello to the Dutchies. But remember, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. There is really no such thing as a free lunch, right? So, um, Untangle is good. Untangle is definitely good. So, um, if y'all need anything, you can go to williehow.com, fill out that contact form, and I will get back to you. So I've got to get a couple emails. I got to get cleaned up, get ready for the day. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Reach out if you need me. Otherwise, stay tuned for more content. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend. Stay healthy and happy.